Hi guys, you're welcome to my channel. My name is Ifeoluwa. In this video, I'm going to show you how to cut and sew this short Bubu dress with drawstrings on the waistline area. Now, if you look closely at this dress, you'll see that it is a button-down dress. You will see that at the middle, we have buttons there. So I'm going to show you how to also go about that. Now, if this is something you're interested in learning how to cut and sew, stick around and watch this video to the end. And if you're seeing me for the first time and you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do want to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and also feel free to leave your questions and your comments in the comment section. Thank you very much, guys. Now let's get started. So this is the Ankara fabric I'm going to use for this tutorial, and here I already have it folded into two. So this is going to be the back part of this dress. Now, to be sure that you have an accurate measurement here before cutting out, because I'm going to cut this out so that I can cut out the front, so I'll be able to cut both of them together. So I'm going to measure out what I have here, and what I'm measuring out in total is my across back measurement divided by 2 plus what I'll be using for the sleeve length. So my across back measurement is 16 divided by 2, which is 8 inches, plus my sleeve length I'm using 10 inches. So altogether I have 18 inches. So I'm measuring out about 20 inches here on this fabric. So that is like the largest part of my board that I'll be using. But if you're going to be using more than that 20 inches, you can go ahead to measure out what you use and then you cut out. So just make sure that you have more than enough for this before cutting out. So now that I have already cut out the back part of the dress, I'm going to go ahead to cut out the front. So I'll use this back to also cut out the front. But for the front, since we are going to have button at the middle, I'm going to fix in my button allowance also. So now that I've placed the back on the front, I'm going to measure out an extra 3 inches for the button allowance. So remember that we have button at the front, I'll be measuring out an extra 3 inches so that by the time I want to fold it, this is what I'm going to have. So I'll fold it once like this and then fold it again. So the remaining one there will be 1 inch. So that 1 inch is going to be the button allowance. So now that I have this complete on my fabric, I'll also go ahead to cut this one out. So now I have both the front and the back part of this dress. Now I'm going to draw out like a margin here. So from this margin, I'll be able to take out my gown length, my dress length, and the armhole. So this margin is just to guide me to know where I'm going to start taking my measurement from. So from this line here now, I'm going to measure out the armhole. So it's just like the sleeve opening. So this is going to be free. I want it to be free for me. So this is 11 inches. I'm using 11 inches. You can use as much as 12 inches or 10 inches. It depends on how wide you want the sleeve opening to be. So 11 inches is just fine. Then I'm going to connect a straight line. Now from that same margin, I'm going to measure out the length of the dress. So the full length of the dress plus ½ inch for sewing allowance there at the bottom. So I'll be using ½ inch to sew the black material, the black fabric that I'm going to add at the bottom. So that is the length plus ½ inch. So I'm going to do that and connect a straight line there. Now I'm going to go ahead to cut out what I have for the length. Now it's time to measure out the neckline and the sleeve area, because this is a cut together dress. Now remember that this part is the button allowance, so I'm going to start my measurements from this back part, the back part of the dress. That's where I'll be taking the measurement from, because these other parts includes the button allowance, which we do not need to take the measurement from. Now starting from here, I'm going to take my across back measurement divided by 2. That is the shoulder to shoulder divided by 2. I have 16 inches for mine divided by 2, which is 8 inches. And then from that point of the 8 inches, I'm going to measure out the sleeve length that I'm using. So I'm using a sleeve length of 10 inches, and I'm going to add ½ inch for sewing of the black fabric into it. So I have 10 inches, 10½ altogether. So I'm going to measure out exactly the same thing that I have on top there. I'll measure it out on the armhole area, the sleeve opening. So you make sure that they are equal. Then I'm going to draw out a straight line. Now after doing that, I'll go ahead to take my neck measurement. So I'm using a neck width of 2.5 inches. So 2.5 is just perfect for this, because you don't want the neckline to be too wide. So 2.5 here, and then for the back, I'm going to take 1 inch there. So starting from here, I'm going to take 1 inch for the neck depth of the back. Now for the front that has button, I'll go ahead to also take the neck depth of the front. So I'm using 7 inches for the neck depth of this front. So I just drew a straight line there to extend to where the button allowance is. So I'll use my French curve to connect for the neck, for the neckline of the back. Now I'll also go ahead to take the neck width for the front. So you make sure that you are taking it from the original line of the back. So you you take away the button allowance. So I decided to draw out a straight line here so that you can understand what I'm doing. A straight line here, and then you measure out from the original line there without the button allowance. So from that point, I'm going to take the neckline. So I'm using the same 2.5 that I used at the back for the front also. So from here, I can then go ahead to draw my straight line to meet the beginning of the button allowance there. So later when I'm sewing, I'm going to trim out this part. So by the time I sew the button allowance, this is what I would have. So I will have to complete the V neckline here. So that is it for the neckline of the front and the back. Now let's move on to the body of the dress itself. So for the body, I'm going to take the largest part of my body, which is my hip. So my hip is 44 inches, and 44 inches divided by 4 is 11 inches, and I'm going to add an extra 4 inches to it because this is a free dress. So you can add as much as you want, 4 inches, 5 inches, depends on how free you want it to be. So 4 inches is just okay for me, and it includes the seam allowance that I'm going to use to sew. So the seam allowance I'm using to sew is 1 inch. So I'm going to take the measurement straight down like that, and then I'm going to connect with a straight line. Now from this part here, I'm going to create a curve to connect this so that by the time I want to sew, it's going to be easy. So you just create a little curve this way just to connect them together. So this is it for the front and the back, and I'm going to go ahead to cut out what I have. So I'm going to make sure to also open up the button allowance area. So guys, this is what I have. Now it is time to take this to the sewing machine for joining together. So I'm going to start by joining the shoulders together. That is the shoulder of the front and the shoulder of the back. The right sides should be facing each other. Now after joining the shoulders, I'll also go ahead to work on the button allowance. So I'm going to fold it this way, 1 inch, and then fold it again another 1 inch. So altogether I have 2 inches folded. So I'm going to have 1 inch allowance for the button. So I'll do the same thing for the other side and fold it that way. So this is what I have after joining the shoulders and also sewing the button allowance area. Now I'm just going to trim. This is what I was saying about trimming this side, the V, so that the V is going to reach the lower part of the button. So I'm going to fold this together and trim that side to complete the V. So this is what I have now. Now the next thing to do is to cut out the fabric I'm going to use to design the lower part and the sleeve area. So I'm using this doll face fabric, a black doll face fabric. That's what I'm using. Then I'm going to measure out what I have on my sleeve area so I can cut it out on the fabric. So I'm measuring out the width of the sleeve, and then I'm going to add an extra 1 inch, so it's going to be sufficient by the time I'm sewing. Then for the length, I'm going to use 4 inches in total. So ½ inch for sewing, and then ½ inch, another ½ inch for sewing at the top. So altogether, it's going to end up at 3 inches. Now for the lower part too, I'll go ahead to measure out what I have in total for this lower part. So you make sure you measure out, and when cutting on the black fabric, you have more than enough so that you won't be short of anything. So I'm going to start by measuring out and cutting what I have on the lower area. So I've already measured out. I had about 50 something inches, then I added a couple of inches to it so that I won't be short of anything. Then for the length, I'm measuring out 4 inches. For the height of the black fabric, I'm measuring out 4 inches in total. So I'll go ahead to cut that out. Now for the sleeve area, I'll do the same thing. I'll measure out what I have on the fabric itself, on the Ankara fabric I'm using. Then I'll add a little extra inches to it so that I won't be short of anything. And then for the height, I'm also going to measure out 4 inches. Then I'm going to cut out. So here I also went ahead to cut out the rope I'm going to use for the drawstring. So I used about 1.5 inches. So I cut out these two, and then I'm going to join them together so it's going to be long enough. So after joining together, I'll go ahead to make like a rope out of it. So I'll just fold it this way and fold it, and I'll sew straight down. So it is time to attach this black fabric to the Ankara fabric, to the main fabric. So for the sleeves, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to open it up this way on the wrong side. So the wrong side of this Ankara fabric is going to be facing the right side of the black fabric that I have cut out. So this is the wrong side of my Ankara fabric, and this is the right side of my doll face fabric. So they are going to face each other. Then I'm going to sew it using 0.5 inch that I used as the seam allowance. Now after joining them together, I'm going to flip it this way, and then I'm going to sew on the other side here. So you can see that the right sides are now together. So after sewing like this, I'm going to flip it over, and then I'm going to sew at the other side. So while sewing this on the other side, you make sure that you fold this so that it's not going to look rough. You fold it this way using the 1/2 inch left. You fold it like this. You can use your pin to hold them together. You use your pin to hold it together so that you won't make any mistakes while sewing. So guys, this is what I have. This is how it looks like for both sleeves. You can see how neat and clean this looks like. Now before I go ahead to fix the black fabric on the lower part, I'm going to sew the sides together. Now if you would love to fix pockets on this dress, this is your opportunity to fix the pockets. So I'm just going to quickly show you how to do that. Now that I've folded everything together, I'm going to mark out the lengths that I'm going to use for the pockets. So from the shoulder here, I'm going to mark out my waist measurement plus 1.5. So my waist measurement is 16 inches plus 1.5. I have 17 inches. So it means from here the pocket is going to start, and then I'm going to mark out the opening of the pocket. I use 6.5. So from this point here, I'm going to start the sewing, and it is going to stop here. Then I'm going to leave this one for the opening of the pocket and continue the sewing from there. Now you make sure to notch those points of the pocket opening. So I have gone ahead to cut out the pockets too that I'll be fixing. So I cut out 6.5 for the pocket opening, and I added 1 inch for sewing allowance. So I have 7.5 altogether, and then for the length I cut out about 12 inches for it. So that is it. This is how it's going to look like. That is if you're going to fix pockets to this. So guys, this is how it looks like. The sides have been joined together, and then you can see my pockets also. Now it's time to fix the black my doll face fabric on the lower parts there. So I'm going to fix this exactly the same way I did for the sleeve area. So the wrong side of the Ankara fabric will be facing the right side of the doll face, but you can go ahead to fold the edge for the button allowance area so that it's going to be neat. So you fold that edge first, and then you start sewing. Now after sewing, just as it is for the sleeve area, I'm also going to take it over to the other side and then fold it this way and sew on top. You make sure that you're using your pin to hold this, so you're going to come out with something perfect and neat. So guys, this is how it looks like. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to use a little fabric to work on the neckline area so that it's not going to look rough. So I'm going to use the Ankara fabric. I don't have a bias tape. If you have a bias tape, you go ahead to use a bias tape just to tape the neckline area so that it's going to be neat. So I cut out a little of my fabric, and then I'm going to use it to tape the neckline area. So after working on that, you can then go ahead to work on the drawstring. So for the drawstring, I'm going to measure out the waistline area. So for my waistline, I have 16 inches. So that is where I want the drawstring to be. So I'm going to measure this round, both front and back. Make sure that you have a good and accurate measurements. So after measuring round like that, I'm going to draw a straight line so that I can know where I will be fixing the drawstring. So this is what I have after drawing a straight line across from the front to the back. Then I'm going to measure out what I have in total so that I can cut out a little fabric that I'm going to use for the drawstring covering. So I'm measuring out everything that I have from the front to the back. Now I had about 58 inches in total, so I'm going to add an extra 1 inch so that I won't be short of anything. So this is what I'm using, this little fabric. I'm going to cut out the height of 2 inches for the height, and then for the length I'm going to cut out that 58 inches. So I would have to join together, so I'm cutting out about 2 of this so that I can join them together. So here I'm just trying to measure out the inches that I need, and then I'm going to join them together after cutting. So guys, this is what I have. Now to start, I'm going to make sure that the edge is taped, like it is folded. I don't have any roughness around the edge area. So I'm going to start fixing from the button allowance area. So away from the button allowance, that's where I'm going to fix the what I'm going to use for a drawstring. So away from it, I'm going to pin it there and pin round until I get to the other side, the other end. So this is the other end, and I'm going to cut out the excess that I have there, and I'll also tape this area too, so that it's going to come out very neat. Then I'm going to use my pin to hold that. Now, after making sure that I've placed that tape on the line itself, on the line that I've drawn, that is the waistline area, I'm going to start folding. So I'll fold 1/2 inch on both sides, so 1/2 inch there and 1/2 inch there. So at the end of the day, I'm going to have about 1 inch left for the tube of this drawstring. So I'm going to fold it 1/2 inch on both sides, and then I'll sew. So I hope you guys understand. By the time you are done sewing, this is what you should have. This is how the tube should look like for the drawstring. So now I'm going to take this my rope, and I'll also go ahead to sew it so that I can fix it into this. So guys, this is how it looks like after sewing. You can see the neckline area that I went ahead to tape, and this is what I have for my drawstring. Now I'm going to use my safety pin to push this into the hole that I already made for the drawstring. So this is what I have. Then I'm going to make sure that I even this out very well, so that one side won't be longer than the other. So I'm going to even this out, even the rope out very well. So this is it after I already evened out everything. Now the next thing to do is to fix the button. So I'm going to take this to my machine to create my button holes, and then I'm also going to fix my buttons to it. So guys, this is all I have after fixing my buttons to it and making my button holes. So this is it for this dress, and then we've come to the end of this tutorial. So let me know if you're going to try this out in the comment section, and let me know if this was helpful. If you aren't subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe before leaving, and also give this video a thumbs up so it can be visible to many more people. If you have any questions for me, don't hesitate to ask in the comment section. Thank you very much guys for watching. I'm going to see you in my next tutorial. Bye.